Group Sport Editor. Woo! With the Daily Paper Online, Ciaran Lennon in studio.
Thank you. Everybody has a title in here.
That technically makes you management, I would say.
Don't know about that. Just one of the guys.
Yeah. No, you're very welcome. Good to have you on. Lots to get through. Quick email, because lots of people emailed this in, so I'll go with the more dramatic subject line. Joe Malloy, a disgrace, said this emailer. Well, lads, hard to think of a subject line that might get your email read. Also, hard to know what length to go with. The ones read out tend to be medium to long. The truth of the matter is, all I've said so far is fluff, because what I want to say is short and to the point. I did not like the tone in which Joe Malloy said Cavan on Bits and Bobs last week. I did love the show until this unpleasant and unsavoury incident. Regards, Christopher, from, you guessed it. There were several to this effect. This was when I asked Conor McKeown which game he was covering, and he said Mayo, Cavan. And it turned out I was wrong.
And what did you say? Did you just say?
I think they're overblowing what I said.
I think Conor actually led in with that by saying that he missed the editorial meeting, so was being sent to that game, which is actually true. He did miss the meeting.
I think I sort of went, ugh. But, you know. So, hands up, I got it wrong. Cavan got it right.
What a win.
Yeah. We'll talk to Tomás O'Shea about Gaelic football today in your feed as well. So, just to acknowledge the several emails from Cavan people. I was wrong, you were right. Enjoy. Gary Lineker, BBC. So, I guess a week is a long time in politics and Gary Lineker's life. He is bowing out, and I guess this is sort of you're sacked here kind of a thing, but it's not as ruthless as removing him from the FA Cup final at the weekend. But most certainly he's not doing the World Cup finals next year, or the FA Cup next year, which was very much the plan for his final 18 months at the station. So the gist is, last Tuesday, as is his wont, he took to social media. He reposted a video clip which was 2 minutes long from the Palestinian Lobby, was the group, and the clip was Zionism explained in less than 2 minutes. Now, where this was problematic for Gary and for the BBC is that there was also a rat emoji as part of the video. And this obviously is a Nazi trope for Jewish people, vermin, straight away just completely unacceptable. Now, Lineker deleted it that day. Tim Davie, the BBC's Director General, was making a speech that same day, and this was, an unexpected question from the crowd. Tim, I just want to get your thoughts on this Instagram post. So he was strongly critical that day. The next day, Wednesday, Lineker apologised. And I guess it trundled on for most of the week. He presented the FA Cup final on Saturday, but it seems by Sunday evening it was agreed he was gone. And in so much as you can believe, source close to said, it seems Lineker conceded his position was untenable. So he released on the Monday a fairly well-produced video apologising for the incident.
Hi everyone, some personal news. Last week I shared a post here on Instagram that contained an emoji that has awful connotations. Unfortunately, I did not see the emoji. If I had, I would never ever have shared it. The minute I was made aware, I quickly deleted the post and went on to make an apology. I would like once again to say I'm sorry unreservedly for the hurt and upset caused. It was a genuine mistake and oversight, but I should have been more diligent. I know that. I've stood up for minorities and humanitarian issues and against all forms of racism all of my life, including, of course, anti-Semitism, which I absolutely abhor. So I think it's best for all concerned that I step down from BBC presenting duties altogether and not do next season's FA Cup or World Cup. The final day of the Premier League season on Sunday will be my last show. It's been a pleasure and a huge privilege working with the BBC for 30 years, especially hosting Match of the Day, a programme that is so close to my heart and an integral part of my life. The relationship with the BBC has been long and wonderful, but it's the right time for the organisation and myself to go our separate ways.
And that was that. 26 years hosting Match of the Day, and it's his last one on Sunday. Obviously, it's been an uneasy relationship in recent years. The Suella Braverman controversy 2 years ago, and obviously in contrast to this time around, all the football pundits and many more BBC staff supported him, and there was a big groundswell, and Match of the Day happened with no commentary, bizarrely, and no studio, that kind of famous Saturday. But it's kind of been uneasy ever since then. And just last month, we played the clip of it actually, he did an interview on BBC with Amol Rajan. And, you know, he's asked about the fact that, you know, subsequent to that 2023 Suella Braverman situation, the rules were sort of changed that you're not meant to say anything now. You're meant to be impartial. And he said in that interview, I'm sorry, impartiality, he said, of the situation in Gaza, it's more important than the BBC. What's going on there is the mass murder of thousands of children. And it's probably something we should have an opinion on. And he had a fairly frank debate with Rajan. And he'd also been calling on the BBC to reinstate a documentary on children and young people living in Gaza, because they'd pulled it down when it turned out the 14-year-old narrator was the son of a deputy agriculture minister in the territory's government, Hamas-run government. And he was kind of saying, here, come on. And I guess what didn't help the few days last week is that he had sat down with the Telegraph to do a big interview before he'd published the Post. It was conducted before the Post, but it was only in the paper after the Post. And the Telegraph, you know, in that interview said he went further than ever on Israel. And so what he said in that interview was that the Israeli response to October 7th is beyond depraved, completely out of proportion, and he accused those who stayed silent about it of being almost complicit. You either have empathy or you don't, said Lineker, and I'll definitely continue pushing humanitarian issues. And again, that was a woof, you know, various politicians coming out. And so that's that. I'd always imagined his final week on the BBC, probably World Cup final, I guess, or an FA Cup final, would have been a World Cup final, or even say it was going to be Match of the Day. I'd always thought the final week would be almost celebration of Lineker's amazing career and a fond farewell and his best moments. It's a really
a sad
end.
Ending, really, for such a long relationship. It obviously seems like it really has become inevitable, and even you can agree with everything Lineker has said, but he was still wrong to not have fully inspected the post he was sharing. And it's a small detail and has terrible connotations. And obviously he knows it was wrong because he deleted it and has apologised.
I think therefore it's very sincere when he says, look, I just didn't see the rat emoji.
I think so, yeah.
You know, I think that's any right thinking person would accept that. It's a bit like, you know, they got Al Capone on tax. He just didn't, in this long-standing kind of tension with the BBC, just not looking at the post properly, seeing the emoji.
It's an incredible spotlight, though, that the English media have put Lineker under. Like, I think, apart from Prince Harry, I think Telegraph's biggest obsession is Gary Lineker. Yeah. And to live under that scrutiny is incredibly difficult.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking earlier, like, geez, like the coverage this is getting is phenomenal. It's absolutely like, geez, would that ever happen anywhere else? And I did think, well, we did have hearings in Ireland into RTE presenters pretty recently. It wasn't like rat emojis in Gaza, but it was a feeding frenzy for weeks and months on end, and it was live television that we watched, and that was over a presenter and other issues that weren't in the same kind of sphere. But there's something about TV presenters, especially when it's like the state broadcaster, where you feel like you're paying for it to a degree, and you feel like maybe you have a more ownership of what they should be allowed to say or allowed do, and it just grabs people's attention in a massive way.
Yeah. Super famous people in everyone's living room, feel like they know them. It's just a big story.
Yeah.
Just one is obviously corporate governance, which you can understand, and in some ways easier to scrutinise. I think like the public opinion in Ireland versus England would be quite different. I don't think you'd find many people disagreeing with what Lineker has said in the last few months.
If he was,
well, technically he was still wrong last week.
If he was like working for the Irish state broadcaster and everything was the same, would he be leaving now?
It's a very interesting question.
I don't think he would be. I think the public opinion here would not be, this guy needs to be out of a job. Whereas in the UK, it seems to be quite much more polarising. I feel like the public opinion would be much more split there. I feel like here, if everything was the same and he was just working in Ireland and the Irish media and in the Irish ecosystem, I don't think he'd be leaving.
The public would support entirely what he's saying about Gaza here. I can't think of an equivalent RTE personality to Lineker who has reached a status whereby they can sort of ignore the impartiality request on them. There's no RTE personality shooting their mouth off, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, shooting their mouth off on the issues of the day in the way Lineker has been. I can't think of one anyway.
No. I don't want to mention individual names. I'm just saying hypothetically, if such an individual existed, would they be still working for the state broadcaster?
I think you'd nearly spark as big a reaction from the public if someone in that position was forced out.
Yeah, they'd probably be getting.
But it's interesting that they don't. They don't seem like Lineker definitely reached a status where he was like, I think this.
Yeah,
it's more important than impartiality. To hell with what I'm saying. And almost, I'm your highest paid employee. I'm pretty important. Come at me.
Yeah.
And I think maybe what's also happened here is the appointment, it's really crucial, of the new director of sport, Alex Kajelski. So he came from the Times and the Mail and the Athletic. He's relatively young, and he's still the right side of 40. And it's a big job, obviously, director of sport. He was appointed last year. And based on everything you read around this, it seems like the winds of change are coming to the BBC. He wants to do, frankly, that terrible thing, which is make it appeal to younger people, i.e. ruin it. He's going to ruin it. He's going to ruin the BBC.
Are we not young and edgy on bits and bobs? Is that not it?
Yeah, young people love us. We have a surprisingly young listenership, actually.
Really?
Yeah. 18 to 34s love us.
And then we have a really old YouTube audience for some reason.
I'm like Poochie over here. Or who's the character? Doesn't matter. It's an old reference. The 18 to 34-year-olds aren't going to get it. But what was interesting in that same Telegraph interview where he had said you either have empathy or not, and he said that what Israel is doing is beyond depraved, he was also asked about the new director of sport and what he's planning to do with Match of the Day. And what he said, Lineker, was he has his reasons. He wants to change Match of the Day. Ultimately, I don't think they'll do that because I don't see how you move a highlight show away from being about highlights. I think he wants more journalists on the show. He's come from that background. And here was the keen line. He's got no television experience. So that was this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. The new director of sport, BBC, does not know what he's talking about when it comes to TV. I'm saying this in the Telegraph. So to use a terrible, a wrong analogy, I do wonder if Roy Keane did his MUTV video, which, resulted in him being turfed out of the club when he was an ageing, hip is crocked 34, 35-year-old. If he had done the same MUT video when he was 99, 2000, Roy Keane, would Ferguson have found a way to keep him? And I suspect with Lineker here, like the rat emoji is wrong. Lineker accepts it's wrong, but it was, I think, an honest mistake. It was an oversight. He didn't notice it, and he apologised promptly. I wonder if he was, 48-year-old, peak of his powers, Lineker, would this have blown up? It just feels like
halfway out the door anyway.
It's just reached a point where like this is death by a thousand cuts, and now you're just gone.
That's an outrageous soundbite to give in a national newspaper, talking about your boss and saying he has no idea about television. Like,
yeah,
that's
no television experience.
No television experience. Read through. Yeah, take what you want from that. So, like, while obviously, like the rat emoji in this controversy, in and of itself, might be worthy of him being sacked.
It might be. Yeah, it might.
There's no doubt as well that there's some politics at play here as well. Whereas there's a new head of sport, he wants to take it in a different direction. You have this legacy individual there who's being paid a lot of money, who has a lot of outspoken opinions, and who was just directly challenged. Like, Ciaran, I said, you're in management, so you can probably answer this better than me.
What management?
Fire him.
No, but like, I was, when I read that part of the quote, I was astonished. I was like, God, you're really giving the two fingers to a guy who, like, if that quote didn't exist, would he have maybe been willing to go to bat for him and keep him? But maybe, but
he had lost definitely management.
I'd say so. Like, I wouldn't blame him after that quote. Like,
yeah. So it's going to be, I mean, again, I had thought that his finale would be a much celebrated thing. You'd have pieces in all the papers talking about like one of the great broadcasters of his generation, etc. And then there'd be like a feel-good aspect to the send-off. Whereas now, like, I can't even imagine the atmosphere in the studio. It'll be like
as dead as the Premier League itself. Yeah.
It's a flat Premier League finale, and it's a really flat, sad, acrimonious ending.
The one thing, and even just from a viewer's point of view, is I never thought we got enough of Lineker as an analyst. I think he's such a good analyst, often better than the people he's asking the questions to. And often I think you can see him nearly in his head asking the question and trying to help the person on the other side of the table help through.
Pretty bored in that job for a long time. It's a boring
challenge.
It's a boring job.
Yeah.
Like it's we've 3 minutes here. You're going to talk about the goal. You're going to talk about the penalty, and then I'm going to throw to the next match. Welcome back. was it a penalty? I mean, do that night after night after night. At a certain point, you would get bored. And then you see him in his podcast, and he's like,
Yeah. And like, to be fair to the
more
new
alive.
head of sport, I can see why. Like, by the time the match of the day goes on, most people have seen the goals, so I can see why there's be an argument to maybe tweak the format or change it or go a different direction. Not that I don't watch it, so I don't really care what they do with it. But like, so I can see why someone might come in and say, "Are we best serving the audience now by just doing it as a straight highlight show?" Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe there's still enough people who aren't engaged with social media, and maybe it's an older audience. I don't know, but
you've no television experience. Just say that. It is a damning comment.
it is like.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry exit. Again, source close to Lineker, so pinch of salt. He remains devastated by the turn of events, deeply regretful, and yeah.
I'm assuming we expect him to play a fairly straight bath this weekend.
I wonder, will he go out in a blaze of glory? See, he has his podcast now, like the Goalhanger Productions, which is behind things like the Rest Is series. They're hitting 40 million audio YouTube downloads a month. Like, these are Indo Sport numbers. So if he wants to go off on one, I'm sure he can do it as Alan Shearer shifts uncomfortably in the seat with Micah Richards going, I still work for them, Gary. I don't want to.
And if there was a stock value for Lineker and the BBC, I kind of know which one I'd be investing in as well still.
Yeah. Lineker? Yeah. No, I mean, look, terrestrial TV's in a tricky situation. I guess the high point for him, I felt, where he was like peak of his powers, uncomplicated situation at the BBC, was probably Leicester winning the league, presenting in his boxer shorts. That was, and it's been a tricky 6 years since. That'd be the high point for him.
Wow, that feels
Walker's
like a long
ass
time
as
ago.
well, obviously.
Yeah. As for the Gaza thing, I mean, look, it's funny. You just look at like the main stories about it today. In the last 8 days, 500 people have been killed. UN, 14,000 babies will or could die in the next 48 hours if sufficient food not let through. We've an 11-week blockade. I don't think he has any regrets for taking a stand here.
No, I think his only regret is not fully examining that post that he shared. I think every word he probably stands by.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking the other day as they blew up another hospital, like the first time they blew up a hospital, it was like a big story. And no, we didn't mean to. It was a stray rocket. It's blown up every hospital since. And we sort of, it's not even you blew up a hospital the other day conversation. So again, right side of history and all that, I'd say he's sailing off into the sunset and thinks sod them. So that's Lineker. Do you like the rotating cast idea?
Not particularly. I think, sure, like bits and bobs, it depends on the dynamics that are there between people. No, I think you get to know the presenters and you come back for them.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to see them becoming more down with the kids. I mean, that just gives me shivers, that kind of a thought. Damien Duff. So they drew last night against Strada. I watched a lot of this game. Duff, I think, summed it up really accurately. It was finished 0-0. He said, disappointing. We huffed and we puffed. Did we do enough for me to come in here and say we deserve to win the game? I don't think so. Dominated possession, maybe 3/4 of possession, but did we do enough with the ball? No. And he talked about like a lack of spark, lack of confidence. So I think that's about right. Fair reflection of the game. That's their 8th draw of the season. I guess why he's in the headlines a week after saying to him and Brad, we need to stop being in the headlines all the time. It's, silly. Is last Friday, Shells lost 1-0 to Bows, and you would have seen, I suspect, the photo at this stage of Damien Duff. He was suspended for the game, and so he watched the game behind the goal on a kind of grassy meadow with a chair that you would sit on at a wedding, not being used. So he stood there, and he referenced the photos in a pre-match interview with Dave McIntyre and Virgin as being a bit ridiculous. And so in the press conference afterwards, he was asked to elaborate on the photo of him at Dalymount watching the match from a grassy hill. And here's what he had to say.
Well, I'm not on the socials, obviously, but I'd imagine I'm not stupid that I got a lot of airtime, probably a lot of laughter. I'm sure an awful lot of people thought I was embarrassed. I wasn't one bit embarrassed. I find it a deeply embarrassing photo for the league. I've fought as much as anyone for the league for 4 years. So you could say I'm mortified. Oh, Damien's mortified for himself. I'm not one bit mortified for myself. I'm mortified for the league. We call it the greatest league in the world. I call it the greatest league in the world. It pictures gone to a lot of countries around the world. Some big people in the football world have texted me laughing. And I think for too long now people have laughed at Irish football and everything about us, and let's not all fool ourselves and get carried away. The league's in a great place, a wonderful place. Yeah, great fans coming like you've never seen before. The most exciting league finish in years upon years. But like I said, let's not get carried away. It was an embarrassing photo for the league, not for me.
Oof. Did everyone think Jose when he said big people text him? That's who I see.
It's always Jose.
Yeah. Jim Telfer was on.
Ian McGeegan's a fan of his as well, so maybe him.
I don't see it as an embarrassing photograph for the league. Like, the thing I thought of was Jose in the no, there was no photograph of Jose in the linen basket, but people love those stories, and this was hashtag greatest in the league
At his best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Was there talk of a laptop as well in the?
Oh, maybe that was one that was on the chair.
Yeah.
Because he had the turn chair. The laptop with Duff, you mean?
Yeah.
It might have been, because on the wedding chair, it was turned back facing out.
yeah.
So it's probably a laptop, yeah. I guess he had to talk. He was probably on G-Chat with them.
Just the more he protests about how he's not the story and it's not the story, the less convincing it. Right, Malcolm Tucker, I'm not the story. It's like they spell your name right and everything. Like at a certain point when you keep providing fodder, you can't just give out about like people covering it.
Do you think it's embarrassing for the league, or is it like, does it add to the rich tapestry of the League of Ireland?
It's kind of both.
Yeah.
Like it certainly adds to the hilarious like hashtag greatest league in the world. It's one of the funniest pictures I've ever seen. Let's just state that. But I can see why, like, if he's saying it makes us look like a ramshackle, twee Ireland, like we have no football facilities, that's true as well. Like it's Damien Duff, one of the most famous footballers, standing on a hill.
But it wasn't like it was a hill that was designated for people to stand on. It was.
No,
it was just a convenient grassy knoll.
Yeah, finally someone says grassy knoll. Joe was avoiding using that phrase up until
It's
now.
like the bowl corner. Is that where all suspended managers go? But yeah, to your point on and what Duff's getting at, I'm sure there is a degree then of it's hard in a week's time to call out Hamer Hal-Grimson for not taking us seriously. It does look a little ramshackle, albeit it's funny. So the key question in all of this, is why he was standing there. If you agree with him that this is actually terrible and makes the league a laughingstock, then you have to ask, why did it happen? And so he was asked the pertinent, crucial question, and do tell me if you can hear his answer here. He was asked, well, were you made stand there? Did Bowes and Dalymount not offer you a more suitable place to watch the game?
I said, read into what you want. It's not me having digs. It's, like I said, it's probably got a lot of traction, and I'm stood in a meadow on top of a hill. Here, as the Beatles sing, I was probably the fool on the hill. But again, I was probably the butt of the jokes, but I shouldn't be, because it was an awful reflection of the league.
Could you just start by you offered somewhere else to go? Like, could you have gone to the country at the Jody, or you offered somewhere to go? Or
that's regardless of where. That's where I was, and like I said, a photo can speak a million words, and. I don't know, you seem intrigued that I'm saying this. I find it an awful photo for the league. That's all I'm saying. Embarrassing. And like I said, you can read into that what you want. So yeah, I said it before, I said it after, because I utterly believe it.
We've contacted Bowes to check, was he offered an alternative position? They haven't responded to us. He didn't actually say, no, they didn't. That's what jumps out to me from that audio. Did they offer you an alternative position? He didn't say, no, they didn't. They told me I had to go to the grassy knoll, or that was it.
So where should he be sitting? In the stand, is it?
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Remember that Davy Fitzgerald was in a soundproof box once?
Yeah.
Anywhere but on the hill looking demented up there.
Yeah.
Was there a need for it?
It's do you think it's likely that he said to Bowes, okay, I'm suspended, where do I sit? And they said, okay, do you see the grassy hill up there? Jim here will bring the chair out for you. You're up there. Do you think that's likely? Do you think that's where he was told that's the designated suspended manager?
Yeah, that would be embarrassing for the league if that actually was the case.
And so he's sidestepping that question.
Yeah.
And where does the next manager stand?
Well, hopefully on the grassy knoll. I mean, it should become the thing.
I'd understand if there were negative storylines around the League of Ireland in general. Obviously, it's enjoying probably the biggest boom I've ever witnessed in my lifetime. So there's so many good things going on that I don't think people should be overly focused on one photograph. I think it's a bit of a distraction, and maybe a distraction from the fact that Shell's form is not great. Have they 5 wins out of 17, I think, this season?
Yeah, it's not going well. They've
obviously it's still early enough.
8 draw the season, let in a lot of soft goals, and just not
scoring,
creating enough. Like, it's obviously a bad combination.
Yeah.
And as much as he might not want to acknowledge it, and Ciaran, you'll know from like seeing the numbers, like stories like that and Damien Duff related stories are driving 80% of the traffic to League of Ireland stories.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about 80%, but there's obviously a correlation between headlines with Damien Duff in them and the headlines without them, and it is drawing a wider audience, and maybe it's an audience wider than the actual sort of committed League of Ireland fan, but we see it on the sports desk every day. Damien Duff stories really, really engage the readers. They engage subscribers. It's not just like, as they would have said years ago, clickbait. People actually are engaged with the stories in a way that League of Ireland soccer has never done before, really. Certainly since we started tracking.
It's both brilliant and slightly precarious state of affairs in that, like, we're Bradley, Kenny to an extent, Duff to move on for whatever reason. Big vacuum in terms of the kind of the foundational hooks for people into the league, I suppose, because it's rare you see a player's name and a big headline, or the player is asked about Duff.
Yes.
Have you got an anecdote about Duff?
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes, I suppose.
And that's partly, obviously, we're writing the headlines and we often usually put Damien Duff's name in it because that's what people are reading. It's
your fault.
Do we blame the reader? Do we blame me?
I blame you. Blame you. I am anticipating a Bohemian statement by the end of the week. That's my guess. I'd be surprised if they told him to go out on the hill.
Just to clarify?
Yeah. Just to say we did. I'd be surprised if they said, look, option 1 is the hill.
Anything that gives you a chance to put that photo in another article, I'm on board.
Another round.
Yeah.
But surely there must be precedent for where did the last manager who was serving a man stand?
We should mention Rovers are sort of taking control of this thing. 5 points clear now. Beat Pats 4-0 last night. Few injuries for Pats, but still, that's 4 wins on the bounce. Graham Burke, man of the match. They even managed to rest a few big names ahead of Derry, who were in second on Friday. They beat Derry. That's 8 points clear of Derry. Starting to feel a little bit...
separated themselves in the back a
down.
bit, yeah. Well, Derry have been going along quietly without really generating, shall we say, Duff-style headlines.
Yeah.
But that's a big game on Friday.
Yeah. Six Nations fixtures released for next weekend, and they're a disgrace, Will, is the point that we're making. So this is Ireland's lot for the Six Nations next year. Thursday night, France-Ireland, 8 o'clock, round 1. Then it's just 2 o'clock Saturdays. Ireland-Italy in round 2, Saturday, 2 o'clock. Round 3, England, 2 o'clock. Round 4 is Friday night at home to Wales. And then Sunday, last game, the Grand Slam. 2 o'clock Scotland.
Yeah,
we're prime time. Why are we not the 4:45s?
Well, let me ask you this, because you obviously work.
You have no television experience.
That's why I'm asking the man who does. There's I suppose a thought out there that because France and the UK are by far a bigger television market, that they get to dictate everything, and Ireland are basically told you have to play in this slot and that's it. Like, I don't know if is that the way. I don't know how much you might know about that. But
no, I don't know. I don't ever remember a season where Ireland didn't have at least one 4:45 Saturday slot, which is the slot. Like, France often play their games on a Sunday, 3 o'clock, because French rugby, they like a Sunday. So it's often France on a Sunday, and they're fine with that. Although, last I had heard, there was a bit of a push actually from organisers to ditch the Sunday one and to make it a Friday night, Saturday thing. Travelling fans make a weekend of it, etc. No work the next morning. But the Sunday fixtures have endured. But yeah, we've never had a run of like 2 o'clock stooges. And
a lot of people last year, like France-Ireland was clearly going to be the marquee fixture. That was a 2:10 kickoff. And Scotland-Wales, which was never going to be meaningful, was in the later slot. And the thought process apparently was that the UK audience for that game would be far greater than France-Ireland. So even though France-Ireland for us is the be-all and end-all, that apparently in the big televisual picture that they can justify putting it at 2:10. But yeah, like that's like England-Ireland is at 2:10 there. Yeah. Like that
sucks the life out of it.
That's bananas to me. Like, is that not one of the marquee fixtures? I struggled to remember the last time that wasn't in the kind of the main slot. It certainly has been going back to.
What's the evening game that day?
Didn't look. Sorry, I can tell you if you're interested. On the day of Ireland,
Yes,
England.
England, yeah.
That goes. So England, Ireland. It's at Twickenham. England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland is the 4:40 game.
Yes.
Wales,
So
Scotland.
2 years in a row, Wales Scotland has booted us into the 2:10 slot.
Yeah.
It's a
But,
joke.
surely you would have thought the English TV market, if you go by that logic.
Well, your
would have-
logic,
would
Will.
have-
I know nothing about TV, guys.
Sorry.
Like, I'm on
Your logic's just been blown up there.
No, Wales Scotland is clearly allegedly the big fixture over there.
Big population centre of.
No, look, I can't. Yeah, because that's just kind of obliterated my argument.
Is there a degree then of just like almost arrogance, as in we're the Six Nations, we do what we want. It's big. You'll come.
Yeah, but that's what you like. The Thursday night game, obviously, like people might know by now.
We're not as big as the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, the Winter
that's the
Olympics
reason, yeah.
opening ceremony is on Friday, and the French broadcaster who has the rights to both,
Yeah.
that's why it's apparently being moved. Why it couldn't have been on a Saturday or Sunday, I'm not sure. But like, I will be fascinated to see how we feel about the Thursday night game. It's easy to get excited about it now and say it's a disgrace or whatever.
It'd be brilliant.
It's certainly terrible for travelling fans.
Oh, sorry. For travelling fans, you have to take 2 days off work. It's
Do you think it'll be brilliant as your television product or television event?
I think fewer people have plans on a Thursday night versus a Friday night. What does everyone want? Something big on TV. I think it will be electric.
You'll be hosting it?
The rights haven't all been figured out. If it was to go the same order as every second year, France, England, RTE, Virgin, then Virgin would have it. But it's a new rights cycle, and it's not even been confirmed that RTE, Virgin are doing it.
History. It'd be like a moon landing,
It would, yeah.
Thursday night, Six Nations game.
Be massive.
From a very selfish point of view, it makes it a hell of a lot easier for the print deadline.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
No, not anymore, no. What about the 18 to 34-year-olds, no?
They'll be listening. They'll be watching. They'll be streaming. I don't know.
No, we were actually chatting about this in the left wing about, Thursday. I don't mind a Thursday night game, but is the Six Nations a place to experiment with this? I feel like there's other, like maybe a URC game to try out and see if there's an appetite, or maybe even Champions Cup. But the Six Nations, I don't feel like needs to do it. I know the Winter Olympics is apparently such a big thing.
Yeah, Friday nights. The Friday night Saturday thing's good, and I sort of don't know why. So they always on the Saturday have a 2:00 game, give or take, and a 4:45 game.
Yeah.
Why is it not like a 5:00 game and an 8:00 game? Like why not? Why not put it on Saturday night?
Yeah.
I think that's juicier.
Yeah, I don't know.
Perfect time to watch sport on the
Big
weekend, yeah.
World Cup games, 8:00 at night.
Could you do 3 on a Saturday like they do for the last day? Could it just be Saturday is your event day for the entire 5 weeks? Because I don't know. I suppose I do feel like
too much rugby.
I do feel like I lose a bit of momentum on the last day, just because there's often not
Too much.
Yeah.
Thursday it is. So I don't know.
So you're gonna have your biggest ever audience potentially on Thursday night.
We don't even have the rights guaranteed.
Oh, I thought it was already.
No, it's rumoured. I haven't heard anything.
Oh.
Like I think it was in the papers that it's happening, but I mean,
Oh, Rudd. Well, Rudd reported it. So,
Yeah.
like, are you doubting Rudd? Like?
no, I'm not. I'm sure it's right, but like it's not official.
Okay, wink.
No, not even wink. No, not even wink.
Not even wink.
I'm hearing good. I'm reading good things like you, but I haven't like.
No, I assumed it was a done deal.
No, but like it seems good, and the fact that it didn't go behind the paywall in the UK would suggest. But like, I know, who knows?
Does the Thursday night clash with anything else?
Europa League.
Europa League,
League.
yeah.
It'll be
Okay, fair
okay.
enough.
It'll be all right. Okay. So, just to mention 2 quick last things. One of the reasons, Ciaran, that you wanted to pop in is to mention Ross Tolchin is on this week. So this is Ireland's biggest stage race, as in we have various stages. It's 5 days, starts Wednesday, tomorrow, in Drogheda. This was founded in 1953. This race, there's a great tradition with it. Almost died a death in 2019 when on Post. Yeah, sponsorship ended. Let's not even mention them. On Post, sponsorship ended, and so there's like 300-400 grand cost to put this thing on. Almost folded. Got a new committee. Cut the costs down from 8 days to 5, etc. And so they're going again. Irish Independent does sponsor a team. So this is kind of amateur teams associated with different counties, plus some kind of
third level pro teams.
This is something which has been like on in the background, and I've never. You're a big cycling fan, we should say.
Yeah, I'm a big cycling fan, and I suppose in some ways I did a piece with the former Donegal footballer Luke Keeney, who had to quit in 2017 due to hip injuries, and he is riding the Ross starting tomorrow in Drogheda for the first time. He only started racing about a year ago. Now is a big advocate for cycling and the race in particular, but he's in touch with all his old pals, Michael Murphy, McBurdy, Ryan McHugh, and he says, oh, they're asking what he's doing. He says, oh, half of them don't know what the Ross is.
Yeah.
Which I certainly, like, I probably didn't get into cycling until my early 20s, but I certainly always knew what the Ross was, and its place in Irish sport. And without the committed volunteers, it could have died a death. And it's just been so vital to the development of Irish cycling. Pretty much every professional cyclist you see riding on the World Tour stage has ridden the Ross at one stage. It's the keystone to the entire season. So without it, I think the racing scene would be under serious pressure here. The racing scene in the UK has declined greatly as well in the last few years for multiple reasons. And when they come over, they see the value of it and they're enthused by it. And I think it's something we shouldn't lose sight of either. And it's, as I said, it had a sponsor for up until 2017. I think they ran it in 2018 with sort of funds that they had put aside. But without a title sponsor, the committee basically folded. And so the race director is a guy called Gerard Campbell, who basically put a committee together to rescue the race and re-establish it. It was supposed to come back in the year of COVID, but it came back in 2022. And they slimmed it down. It didn't have a UCI status, which actually saved money and made it easier for them to run. But it also kind of sort of re-established its identity as it's like the club finals for cycling. So it's about community, it's about county riders, it's about the rising stars, 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are hoping to some stage get a leg up in the World Tour in a few years' time. And it's about guys like Luke Keeney, who, like, is obviously an amazing athlete. He used to row coastal rowing for Ireland as well not that long ago. He's a huge engine. And there's loads of sort of older guys as well who, like, this is their lifetime ambition to ride the Ross, become a man of the Ross, as they say. Right. So this starts tomorrow. It runs over 5 days, starts in Drogheda, finishes in Boyle, Clifton, Ennis, Mount Rat, and then finishes at Bective on Sunday. And as you said, the Irish Independent sponsored the King of the Mountains jersey competition. And with that relationship, we look at what we can do to sort of promote the race or to cover the race, really. So we have the winner of the 2022 Ross, Dara Feely, is going to do a daily diary. People may be aware of the Irish Independent sort of long-running history of doing rider diaries, and they're a great way into the race. And Dara is a great character. He's probably been the best domestic-based rider for 5 or 6 years. He did try and make it as a professional I think he was based in Monaco for a while, for possibly 2 years, kind of fell out of love with the sport and has come back and is like, I'm not chasing the European professional dream anymore. This is what I want to do, be the best rider he can be in Ireland. And stage 1 finishes in Boyle, which I believe his father is part of the sort of stage finish organising committee. He's from Roscommon, so that's a big goal for him. But there's always, you'll see people like Martin Irvine on the road. I think he's the DS for the Ireland team. There's a couple of guys who, Mark Downey, I think, is back this year. He would have ridden on the track in Tokyo in 2021, and he's sort of been away from the sport, but is back. So it's really, I think that the club finals meets cycling is kind of a good way to pitch it. But it's got such a long history and so important to the sport. I think it's worth a shout out.
Yeah, nice. We'll keep an eye out for the diaries. I know people love them, so it's good you've got one.